So that's how I'm viewing it. I'd set myself outside of the religion or culture, and I view it critically. Despite all the resentment, all the disagreement of what colonialism and all those things, which I probably had problems with, or some sort of image which I'm not really the image of me being looked down upon because of the background and the historical things that puts me down and all that. In spite of all that, I could see beyond that, and I saw that no, going out has made me see things even in the way of those that I probably might hate or might not be too friendly with, or people that I might not really agree with in terms of how they saw things and how they approached it. I go out and I see the same thing. I say, okay, so that is why they did what they did. That is why they sort of treated other people the way they treated them. There is no justification for the actions of slave. I'm not trying to say that slavery was good or bad or anything of that nature. I'm just opening you up to an open-minded approach to things, which if you have that, your views and your decisions won't be the same. You will not end up sort of struggling to make the choices, or struggling to bring forth your ideas. Your ideas will not also be biased or somehow one-sided. It's going to be balanced in every way, and that is what is expected of everyone, or that's what expected, or that we should expect. So in that sense, if I want to say anything and I'm gonna say it thinking with some hatred within my heart, I won't be able to say it well. Neither will I be able to embrace my enemy. Neither will I even, I have to first think that there is no enemy in the first place. Who is my enemy? Is the white man my enemy? Or is it the black man my enemy? What is it? What are the grounds that I may stand on? Time has passed. You can see white people who are very good. You may see white people who are very terrible. You see black people who are terrible and black people who are very good. So who are you going to point a finger at? We're only using those analyses to help us move forward, or help us understand those sort of extremists that was within our midst, and how we can, as we are somehow retrospecting, we're going to use that to sort of build any current signs of such extremism will be, eradicated, or will be crashed out, or will be, taken out of the face and be able to move on. People will not entertain or tolerate any more of those extremisms. So it will go along that line. But before we jump into it, it's information that we get. Where do we get it from? What our main information are coming from? It's coming from the books. They don't need a round table today, from my view, to sort of settle the peace between the Israelis and the Arabs in the Arabian Peninsula. They don't need to set out a table. They don't need America to do anything, or anybody to do that. If you will really, really want peace, they look into their own lives, look into their own historical events, look into their own religion, their culture, and ask themselves. They should ask those questions. What are we doing? Is it really right? Does it make sense? Are we building something which will make our life more meaningful? And when they really look into all these aspects that I have pointed out, it won't take a second for one to just, there won't be even necessary of writing treatment. People will sober to the idea of peace. They will just agree, without any reluctance. They will just give in, to the idea of being very peaceful and embracing each other. That despite the conflict between the brother and sister, still they will have the knowledge of saying that it is unnecessary for any violence to sort of be encouraged among their regions, or their sort of territory. And if we go to Kosovo or whatever place in Russia, or Africa, or whichever place, the same thing does apply. Those things really stand in the way. Sometimes people think of it as finance and all that. The finance thing and the business side probably will happen, but it is done through culture. It is done through religion. You know, those are the roots in the passage that is being used as a main excuse, because those places, those areas, open our eyes to see each other as enemies, and we have strong, it sort of generates some strong resentment within us that we stand by at every way possible that we can, in every way possible that we can, every cost, to make sure that your enemy is an enemy. As long as your word enemy, we sort of know what enemy means. It's somebody who will not spare you, who hates you, who wants you at the end of your life to be there, who will bring you to ruins. And since you don't want that, it's an enemy. And then if somebody is classified in that class of enemy, there is no softy approach or limitations to your ways of trying to prevent the enemy from attacking you. You have to do everything in your power. So it is not a words that we take lightly in every respect. So I'm sort of looking at it in that ground, and I'm hoping that you will sort of get a gist of what I'm trying to say here. If we look, for instance, if we take the Quran, and as we pick the Quran book, that is Surah 9, and I'm sure we've looked into it before, but for the sake of a new listener, I'll have to just point it out to you. And in Surah 9, 5, it says, "But when the forbidden month are past, then fight and slay the pagans wherever ye find them, and see them, belingua them, and seize them, seize them, hold them, or capture them, or hold them, or prevent them, and balingua them, and lie in wait for them, in every stratagem of war. But if they repent and establish regular prayers and practices regular charity, then open the way for them. For God is what? Oft forgiving, most merciful." How can one read this or look at this and become very peaceful? There is no peace there. Now, this is the Quran here. Now, if we look at the Bible, and we go to, let's say, I'll find a simple one. Let's say, what do you call it? Nehemiah. Sorry. If we go to Nehemiah in the Old Testament, I'm sure you can find that in the Torah as well. Now, in the Christian New Translated one, in Nehemiah 13, that is Nehemiah chapter 13. If you go through verse, all the chapters will sort of lead to the same thing. But to cut a long story short, I point you to a simple verse in 27, which says, "Should we then hear of your doing all the great evil, transgressing against our God by marrying pagan women?" Now, who are they calling pagans here? That is some group of people who are outside the worship of the Judaism worship at that time. Now, Christians have to pick up that advice, because Judaism believe in Christianity. It's like it's a new movement that is being called Christianity. So it's like they came out of Judaism, so the laws of Judaism still stands. It still becomes the core of the religion, So any historical background in the pagan, in a Christian side, goes along all the way to the days of Moses, Noah, and all of that. Any historical things that links to the Judaism practice or the Jewish practice will be sort of held as part of the Christian religion or Christian sort of way of life. So in that sense, pagans in the Christian side is also being considered as some people outside, which is Islam is definitely outside of Christianity. Even if it's not because the book comes from Torah and all that, even Judaism is outside of Christianity. Christians preferably would like to see Jews transform themselves to become Christians, convert into Christianity, like becoming newborn again, But today the born again is also another movement which is hitting any ground